Hello and welcome to Lost Love Mystery, where we explore the twists and turns of love, the pain of betrayal, and the mysteries that lie hidden in the heart. The night was unusually still, with a gentle breeze barely rustling the leaves. Adam stirred awake, his hand instinctively reaching for Mia, his wife of 5 years. The cold, empty space next to him jolted him fully awake. A glance at the clock revealed it was just past midnight. A gnawing unease crept into his chest as he sat up and looked around. Mia's absence was strange, but not entirely alarming. Yet, Adam reasoned, she might still be at the neighbor's casual fire pit gathering. Though he had declined the invitation, preferring an early night due to his early Monday shift, Mia had insisted on attending for a little while. But a strange tug at his gut prompted him to investigate. He moved to the window that overlooked the neighbor's backyard. A faint glow illuminated their patio, revealing 3 figures. His neighbor had retreated indoors, leaving Mia and Ethan, the neighbor's brother, alone by the fire. Adam's breath hitched as he saw Mia inch her chair closer to Ethan, her laughter soft and flirtatious. What happened next felt like a punch to his gut. Mia leaned in, her hand brushing Ethan's arm before they kissed. It wasn't a fleeting moment of drunken misjudgment. The kiss was deliberate, passionate, and far too intimate for mere acquaintances. Adam froze, his mind reeling. Every instinct screamed at him to storm over, but his body refused to move. Instead, he reached for his phone, hands trembling as he snapped blurry photos of the betrayal unfolding before him. Ethan eventually pulled away, but Mia seemed reluctant to let the moment end. Adam's heart shattered as he watched her smile and touch Ethan's arm once more before the neighbor returned, interrupting their stolen moment. The fire dimmed, signaling the end of their gathering. Mia exchanged a few whispered words with Ethan before walking back toward the house, the sound of her stumbling footsteps breaking the silence. Adam stood at the top of the stairs, waiting for her to enter. When the door creaked open and she appeared, her carefree expression faltered. "You're awake?" she asked, her voice tinged with nervousness. His piercing gaze met hers. "Where were you?" Mia hesitated, her fingers brushing against the banister as if seeking stability. "I was at the party," she said lightly, avoiding his gaze. Adam stepped closer, his voice low but sharp. "Don't lie to me. I saw you with Ethan." The color drained from Mia's face, her forced composure crumbling. "It's not what you think, Adam. I had too much to drink. It was just a stupid mistake." Adam's jaw clenched, the hurt and anger boiling beneath his calm exterior. "A mistake? You kissed him. I saw it. I even have proof." He held up his phone, displaying the grainy images he had taken. Mia's eyes filled with tears. She fell to her knees, sobbing. "I don't know what came over me. Please, Adam, believe me. I love you." It meant nothing. Her desperate pleas echoed in the hallway, but Adam felt no solace in her tears. "It meant nothing," he repeated bitterly. "Do you think that makes it better? Do you think that erases what you did?" Mia reached out to touch him, but he pulled back. "Sleep in the guest room," he said coldly, his voice laced with finality. "I can't even look at you right now." She whimpered but didn't argue, retreating to the other room. Adam returned to their bed, though sleep evaded him. His mind was a storm of questions. How long had this been happening? Was Ethan the only one? The betrayal played in his head on a loop, each detail cutting deeper than the last. As the hours dragged on, Adam realized one thing. This wasn't just about the kiss. It was about the years of trust, love, and commitment Mia had shattered in a single night. Section 3. Adam's sleepless night and doubts. The dim light of dawn began creeping through the curtains, but Adam hadn't closed his eyes once. His mind replayed every interaction with Mia over the past few months, searching for clues he had missed. Her guarded behavior, her sudden insistence on personal space, the occasional late-night texts she brushed off as work, all of it now seemed glaringly obvious. Then there was her history. Adam had dismissed the whispers about her first marriage ending due to infidelity. He had believed in her, trusted her, and had no reason to question her loyalty until now. "A cheater always cheats," the voice of an old friend echoed in his mind, words he had once scoffed at. Guilt gnawed at him as he wondered if he had contributed to her betrayal. Had he worked too much? Shown her too little affection? But the thought infuriated him. No amount of perceived neglect could justify what she had done. Unable to sit still, Adam got up and paced the room. The engagement ring he had bought for Mia, tucked away in his drawer, now felt like a cruel joke. He had planned to propose that Christmas, a symbol of the future he thought they shared. Now, that future was in ruins. By morning, Adam made a decision. He wouldn't let Mia's betrayal define him. But first, he needed answers and justice. Adam began his day with a singular purpose: uncover the full extent of Mia's betrayal. While she avoided his gaze during breakfast, he silently observed her every move. She seemed nervous, overly apologetic, and eager to brush off the events of the previous night as a drunken misstep. But Adam wasn't buying it. Determined, he reviewed the photos he had taken. Though blurry, they were enough to fuel his resolve. He started piecing together the fragments of suspicion from the past weeks: her guarded phone, unexplained absences, and vague excuses. Every detail now screamed deceit. Adam decided to cast his net wider. He reached out to neighbors and mutual friends under the guise of casual conversations. Their responses were varied but telling. Some hesitated, their discomfort betraying knowledge they didn't want to share. Others admitted they'd noticed Mia and Ethan growing too friendly at recent gatherings. One even mentioned seeing them laughing and whispering at the last neighborhood barbecue. The puzzle pieces were falling into place. Adam's anger turned to determination. He wouldn't be a passive victim. The betrayal wasn't just a personal affront. It was public humiliation. His pain needed an outlet, and exposing the truth seemed like the only way to reclaim his dignity. The neighborhood barbecue 2 days later provided the perfect stage. Adam attended, feigning normalcy, but his heart raced as he watched Mia mingle awkwardly. Ethan was there too, his usual charm on display, as if nothing had happened. As the evening wore on, Adam saw his moment. He approached Ethan in the middle of the gathering. "Tell me, Ethan," Adam began, his voice loud enough to draw attention, "how does it feel to kiss another man's wife?" A hush fell over the group. Ethan's face turned pale as murmurs rippled through the crowd. Mia, standing nearby, froze, her drink trembling in her hand. "I have proof," Adam continued, holding up his phone. "Last Saturday night, while I was in my own home, you two decided to disgrace everything I've built with Mia." Ethan stammered, trying to deny it, but the gathered neighbors had seen enough. Adam didn't need their pity. He needed their understanding. "This is the man you've welcomed into your homes," he said, his voice steady despite the rage bubbling beneath. The fallout was swift. Ethan's once friendly reputation crumbled, and Mia became the talk of the neighborhood. The whispers and sidelong glances made her retreat into herself, the weight of her actions now unavoidable. Mia's life began to unravel in ways she hadn't anticipated. The public exposure of her affair sent shockwaves through the neighborhood, isolating her from the community she had once thrived in. Friends she had known for years suddenly became distant, their polite smiles replaced with awkward silences. The neighbors, once warm and welcoming, now whispered behind her back. Every glance, every murmur, felt like a dagger of judgment. At work, Mia's colleagues grew colder. While no one openly confronted her, the change in atmosphere was palpable. Meetings became tense, lunch invitations stopped, and even her boss seemed less supportive. For the first time, Mia realized how deeply her actions had impacted not just her personal life but her professional one as well. One night, a loud crash jolted Mia awake. She stumbled out of bed to find flames creeping up the side of the house. The smell of smoke filled her nostrils as panic set in. She scrambled to call 911, her hands trembling as she relayed her address. The fire department arrived quickly and managed to contain the blaze, but the damage was already done. The fire chief approached her afterward, his tone grim. "Ma'am, we believe this was arson. A vehicle matching a specific description was seen near your property earlier tonight." The description matched Ethan's car. Mia's stomach churned with fear and frustration. She tried to contact Ethan, but his number was disconnected. The fire marked a turning point. With her home partially damaged and her reputation in ruins, Mia was forced to reckon with the consequences of her actions. The isolation, the judgment, and now the danger she faced weighed heavily on her. She tried reaching out to Adam once more, begging him to reconsider, but he was unmoved. Mia began to question everything: her decisions, her motives, and even her sense of self. Yet, despite her remorse, the damage was too great. She had gambled everything for a fleeting moment and lost it all. As she stood in the remnants of her damaged home, Mia realized she had no one to blame but herself. While Mia's life spiraled downward, Adam's ascended with newfound purpose. The pain of betrayal was still fresh, but he refused to let it consume him. Instead, he turned his focus inward, channeling his anger and sadness into self-improvement. The gym became his sanctuary. Each weight he lifted felt like a piece of his burden being released. The physical exertion was cathartic, and as weeks turned into months, Adam noticed his body transforming. His confidence grew with every new milestone. He wasn't just regaining his physical strength, he was rebuilding his self-esteem. Outside the gym, Adam took practical steps to secure his future. He consulted a lawyer to disentangle himself from Mia financially. Though they had no joint accounts or children, there were still loose ends to tie up, such as the house. Adam decided to sell it, knowing it was tainted with memories he didn't want to carry forward. Emotionally, Adam focused on healing. He joined a support group for people who had experienced infidelity, where he found solace in shared stories. For the first time, he didn't feel alone in his pain. The camaraderie and encouragement from others helped him process his emotions and move toward closure. Adam's transformation didn't go unnoticed. Neighbors who had once pitted him now admired his resilience. He became a symbol of strength in the community, someone who had taken life's punches and stood back up. Even those who had doubted him began to respect his determination. In the quiet moments, Adam reflected on his journey. The engagement ring he had once cherished now sat in a box, ready to be returned. It symbolized a chapter that was over, a future that would never be. Instead of mourning what could have been, Adam focused on what lay ahead. His transformation wasn't just about leaving Mia behind. It was about reclaiming his narrative. He was no longer a victim of betrayal. He was a man who had faced heartbreak and emerged stronger. The final confrontation between Adam and Mia was inevitable. One evening, after weeks of silence, Mia cornered Adam in the kitchen. Her eyes were red, her face pale. "Adam, please," she said, her voice trembling. "Can we talk?" Adam put down the glass he was holding, his expression unreadable. "Talk about what, Mia? What's left to say?" Tears welled up in her eyes as she clutched the counter for support. "I made a mistake, a terrible mistake. I was drunk, I wasn't thinking. But I love you, Adam. I love us." Her words hung in the air, but Adam's face remained hard. "Love? You call that love? What you did wasn't a mistake, Mia. It was a choice, a deliberate choice to betray me." Mia sobbed, trying to close the distance between them, but Adam stepped back. "Don't," he warned. "Don't try to make this about feelings or mistakes. You knew what you were doing, and you did it anyway." He laid out everything, the evidence, her past infidelity, the lies she had told. "You destroyed our trust. You destroyed us. And there's no coming back from that." Mia fell silent, the weight of his words crushing her. She realized there was no redemption, no way to undo what had been done. Adam's decision was final, and she had no choice but to accept it. The morning of Adam's departure was marked by a quiet, deliberate finality. He had spent the previous weeks carefully packing his belongings, piece by piece, so as not to alert Mia to his plans. This morning, he carried the last of his possessions to his car. Every step felt like shedding the weight of the past. The house, once a symbol of their shared dreams, now felt hollow, a place tainted by betrayal. On the kitchen counter, he left a letter. It was not cruel, but it was firm and unflinching. In it, Adam explained the depth of his heartbreak, the betrayal he couldn't forgive, and his decision to leave. "This is not just about the kiss," he wrote. "It's about the trust you destroyed, the lies you told, and the person you chose to be. I hope one day you understand the damage you caused, not just to me, but to yourself." When Mia discovered the letter, she broke down. She clutched it to her chest, rereading his words through tear-filled eyes. The realization that Adam was truly gone hit her like a tidal wave. She tried calling him, but the call went straight to voicemail. He was gone, and there was no undoing the damage she had caused. Without Adam's financial support, Mia quickly realized she couldn't afford the mortgage on her own. Her requests to refinance were rejected, and with no other option, she put the house on the market. The neighbors, once friendly and warm, offered no solace. Her betrayal had not only cost her Adam, but also the respect of the community. Ethan, the man at the center of it all, had vanished without a trace. Rumors swirled about his sudden departure, and some speculated that he had left to avoid further confrontation with Adam or the community's judgment. Mia was left to face the fallout alone, her isolation complete. The sale of the house felt like the final nail in the coffin of her old life. As she packed her belongings, Mia was forced to confront the reality of what she had lost: a loving partner, a stable home, and a future she had taken for granted. She had gambled everything for a fleeting moment and lost it all. Adam's new life began with the quiet promise of a fresh start. He moved to a city far from the memories of his old life, renting an apartment with a stunning view of the skyline. The change of scenery was both liberating and intimidating, but Adam welcomed it as an opportunity to rebuild himself on his own terms. At first, the transition wasn't easy. The silence of living alone was deafening, and the absence of Mia, even after her betrayal, left an ache he couldn't ignore. But Adam was determined to focus on his healing. He immersed himself in his work, taking on new projects that challenged and inspired him. His colleagues began to notice a newfound energy in him, a man who was slowly rediscovering his purpose. Adam also invested in his personal growth. He continued his fitness journey, setting new goals and milestones. Each weight he lifted, each mile he ran, felt like a step further from the pain of the past. He joined a local hiking group, where he met people who shared his passion for the outdoors. These new connections helped him see the world through fresh eyes, reminding him that there was life beyond the heartbreak. Socially, Adam began to open up again. While he wasn't ready for another relationship, he found joy in simple, platonic connections. Dinners with colleagues, weekend outings with new friends, and even casual conversations with strangers became small but significant reminders of the world's potential for kindness and connection. One evening, as Adam stood on the balcony of his apartment, watching the sunset paint the city in hues of gold and crimson, he felt an unfamiliar sense of peace. The wounds of betrayal had not completely healed, but they no longer consumed him. The anger and resentment that had once defined his days had given way to something softer, a quiet resilience, a hope for the future. Mia's fate occasionally crossed his mind, but it no longer held power over him. Whether she had learned from her mistakes or continued her self-destructive path was no longer his concern. Adam had reclaimed his life, piece by piece, and with it, his happiness. For the first time in a long time, Adam smiled, not out of relief or vindication, but out of genuine contentment. His journey was far from over, but he was ready to face whatever came next with strength and clarity. The horizon before him wasn't just a view. It was a promise of new beginnings.